Welcome back to More to Love Homestead. Today we have some content for you that is more to love than just homesteading. Today we have Tiff Dee. She is the placenta girl, and I'm so excited to just let her talk to you about what she does, because it's one of those things that I learned about in the time between having my oldest Kevin and the 22 years that passed before I had Isaiah. It was just one of those things that I learned about, and it should have made sense because at one point in my life, I lived on a dairy farm, and I watched those cows munch on placenta after they birthed those babies right there in the field, and it never occurred to me that humans don't do that, and why don't we do that? And there has to be purpose in what they're doing. That has to serve some kind of purpose, or they wouldn't do it, because animals don't think. They don't have the higher intelligence that we do. Not that they're not intelligent in their own way, but they don't have like the pretenses. They don't have prejudices. They don't have anything like that.
They don't have OBs interfering.
That's right. They don't have somebody influencing them on what they should and shouldn't do. So Tiff, why should humans consume their placenta?
So there's lots of reasons, but I do want to back up and go off of what you just said about the mammals. So, right, like all mammals, most mammals consume their placenta after they give birth. Standardly, you'll hear people argue that they do it because they're trying to hide the evidence of the birth and keep, their babies safe.
There's definitely something to that.
Absolutely. But at the same time, of course, it makes sense that they would consume it because it's full of nutrients and there are lots of benefits to it. And then, I want to make sure that I make this point because one argument, before we get into the whys, one big argument you'll hear about the why nots is from some lactation consultants, not all, some have made a big deal about it's not okay to consume your placenta because they believe that it hinders milk supply. And for a long time, I struggled with this argument,
not for
right?
me.
For me neither. Like I had a major difference between when I took the pills and not. But I also did struggle with that argument because there is a lot of that argument that makes sense. However, Judy Schneider, I call her the OG
she's
IBCLC,
awesome.
like she literally sat for the first IBCLC exam back in 82 or whatever. Yeah, so she's the original. And she said to me, it doesn't make sense because all mammals consume their placenta and none of them have problem producing milk. So that literally just squashes any other argument out there as far as that goes.
Maybe we should say who Judy is because she's big around here.
Judy Schneider saved my nursing relationship with my son.
She helped me too.
She has helped so many women and since I've known her at least, it's all been for free. Like she's not doing this as a paid lactation consultant.
And that's because she is involved with Leche.
Yes, and she is amazing. So she, when I found her, she was like the mom of one of my ex-mother-in-law's co-workers.
Oh my.
And I was struggling with breastfeeding, and so my ex-mother-in-law, she said, I have this woman, maybe you can talk to her. And I did, and she saved me. And at this time, this was the beginning of Facebook. So it was like,
wow, that's going back.
Yeah, so it was 2009, and, it was just kind of starting to be a thing. No smartphones yet. And Judy talked me through a lot and helped me so much through email. And then I started this birthing, breastfeeding, and babies group on Facebook and added her. And she'll still tell you today, that changed my life.
I love reading her posts.
Yes,
I really do.
Best. She's so invested. So yeah, when Judy says to me, it's not a problem, I'm fine. Because I don't want to do anything that's going to harm a mom's chance of nursing her baby. That's very important for some moms, right?
And two, it's something you can tweak. If it seems like it's a problem, you can 100%. Stop them or cut back. You don't have, it's not an all or nothing kind of thing.
And this is the thing. It goes right along with birth and all the things. You have to listen to your own body.
Yes.
You know your body better than I do. You know your body better than your doctor. You know your body better than your doula, your partner, anyone. And
you lead that birth team.
Exactly. And
you lead that recovery team.
Right. And you have to listen and be true to yourself, right? I feel like women, we've been taught for so long to not trust our instincts, not trust our gut because there is so much information. My mom always says, you know, when I had you, I got pregnant, and 10 months later I had a baby. That was it. Like, I didn't have all this information, which I, of course, believe information is good and important, and we need it. But I think we sometimes get so hung up on what other people are telling us is right that we don't tap into our own. So, yes, if you're noticing that you're taking the placenta pills specifically, I'm not going to talk about any other pills, but you notice that you're taking these pills and something feels off, you got to listen to that. Don't just go, oh, well, no one else had this problem, so it must be in my head. No.
And here's the thing that I've learned in my own health journey, even with prescription medications, your doctor does not know how you feel. You can't always effectively communicate the way that you feel because the way you feel is unique to you. So learning to trust your instincts and listen intently to the body that you are in is so important.
Yes. Can we back up and start from my beginning then, since that ties right into with the loss of my baby?
I would
trigger warning.
Yeah, trigger warning. But you know what?
You guys are probably used to that, right?
You guys know that there has been a lot of love, life, and loss in my story, and it was purposeful because it has given me tools to help other people. And I firmly believe that Tiff would agree with me that it definitely gives you a level of compassion and a tool to reach out and actually touch and have an impact on other people.
Yes.
So
yes,
go for it.
So I lost my first baby at 22 weeks, and my water broke, and I was teaching 6th grade, went home on my break, on my prep period, changed my clothes, and came back and taught the final class of the day.
That's dedication, man.
It's not, though. It was, I didn't listen to my body, and I didn't have a clue that was even possible. Like, what? I didn't know babies even died. I mean, in my head, this doesn't happen. This was something that happens in the movies, right? So I was so far removed from listening to my body at the time that I just didn't even think. And when the doctor said to me, like, I finally got into the doctor, and she said, your water broke. I still, in that moment, I remember saying to her, what does that mean? Like, in my head, I was still okay. Everything was okay.
Everything was fine.
Yeah, and so, but the pregnancy, I had this brown spotting, and I kept going back every couple weeks, like, what's going on here? I'm nervous about this. And they kept saying, you're fine. It's a yeast infection. I'm like, I've had yeast infections. They've never been bloody, right? And yeast infections itch. No itchiness. But they weren't listening to me. They had 16 doctors in the practice at the time. It was McDonald's to them, you know, like.
Isn't it hard when you do have that dynamic? And a lot of practices have multiple clinicians. You might be seeing a resident. You might be seeing the doctor. You might be seeing a midwife. You might be seeing a nurse. It takes a level of experience to communicate with your team in a way that they're going to stop and listen.
Yes. And they don't know you. They don't get to know you. I always say to people, if you're in a large practice, the first thing they're going to say is make an appointment each time with someone different. That way you've met everyone. And when the person shows up to deliver you or deliver your baby, when you show up to give birth, you will have met this person. And I'm like, what is the point of that? You met them for 15 minutes. They don't know you.
I don't generally let anybody in that part of my body that I've only known for 15 minutes.
And
it's
so,
that.
yeah, so I always,
like it.
Right. I always say, like, see the same practitioner throughout your care. That way you at least get to know someone who is caring for you. The birth, and of course it would be fantastic if you knew the person and had a connection with them, but the chances of, this way, if you're seeing everybody else every time, like, you're never getting to know any of them. So at least you can get to know the person who's caring for you throughout the pregnancy.
It's very difficult. I don't know. You're about an hour north of me.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of OB situations where you have just one provider that you can really get to know them. We don't have really access to that. And in thinking of it on a different level, that would be very difficult because that means one person has to see everybody in the office, has to deliver all the babies.
Yeah.
That's too much for one person.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
but then you're left in a situation where it doesn't necessarily serve women the best. So that's where women have to learn how to communicate and talk in a language that they understand.
Yes.
Because we may not have access to that. That would be
no.
ideal. Having one
gosh.
provider that sees you through all of these things and continues to see you into other things that we deal with, you know, birth control,
right.
You know, family planning, infertility. Later on, you know, I'm going to be getting there eventually if I stop having babies, menopause.
Yes.
You know, one provider that can do that, but we don't have a healthcare system like that. So we have to learn how to advocate for ourselves, and a lot of that is communication skills and speaking in a way that you can be heard. And I'm learning, but I'm learning now, having had 20 plus years of experience between my own healthcare journey and advocating for Kevin, because Kevin has so many issues. He's stable now, but that's only by the grace of God and a lot of
your work,
advocacy and really like attacking the different things and not accepting it when they say, well, it's just because he's autistic.
Yes.
I will not take that for an answer.
See?
Because he's not just autistic.
Right. That's part of
just
who
like
he is, a very smart
I'm not just pregnant.
Right.
I'm a woman. I have autoimmune disease. I have issues with my gut. I am not just pregnant. There are other things going on. And in this pregnancy, I developed a very severe rash. And it would come and go. It was so bad. My eyes were swelling.
Oh, no.
It was all over my face, all down my neck, all over my torso. It took 6 doctors. I went to my OB's office twice. The second time, they listened a little better. Maternal fetal medicine, urgent care, my primary care, and a dermatologist. And every single one, their first answer was, well, sometimes when you're pregnant, your skin does some weird things. They told me it was eczema. I've had eczema. This was not eczema.
See? Same thing.
Finally, my husband, and I don't encourage Dr. Google. My husband did a little research online. He said, honey, could this be a reaction to your insulin? Because I was on insulin. And I went back and I checked the dates. And it correlated within a week of every dosage change from the initial start of insulin to every dosage change that we did. And I went to maternal fetal medicine. I said, listen, this rash is really bad. It was so bad that the tech wouldn't touch me. The ultrasound tech would not touch me with her hands. And she said, I'm so sorry and I hate to be this way, but I don't know what that is. And if it's contagious, I don't want it. And I didn't blame her because it was awful.
She's like thinking of leprosy or something.
So thankfully, I went in prepared with this question and I communicated it to her. And she says, well, let me do some research. Because, you know, sometimes you can have reactions too, because insulin generally is a derivative of, it's a pig byproduct from pig pancreas. She said, let me do some research. And she called me later in the day and she said, we're going to try you on a different form of insulin. It's a little bit different. Let's see if it makes a difference. Within 2 days, it was gone and it didn't come back. Like I'm getting goosebumps.
I am
thinking
too.
about it.
That's such an important thing that we need to talk more about because we tend to, you know, we see them as experts. We think that they have our best interest at heart, and they do. I'm not saying they're bad, but it's a system. It's too big. And so you can't just sweep it under the rug. You have to believe what your body is telling you. And so that's also what happened with me. It was a yeast infection, and then my water broke. And then when I went back to the high risk doctor as a follow up, he looked at all of my information and he said, you know, he couldn't say it in so many words. He said though, you know, you likely had bacterial vaginosis, and
which is so common
and so easy to check for. It's a swab, and it's easy to treat. But because my care providers were ignoring me, my baby died, and I was enraged, and I didn't understand, like, how could you not see, you're not seeing me as an individual. I'm sure what they experience is people coming in all day long with every little thing. And that's also okay, though.
Yeah.
Because people have anxiety. They have reasons that they are complaining. But in the system that is so big, and again, where I was going, it was literally they had multiple waiting rooms. You would go to waiting room A, and then they would move you to waiting room B, and then they would go. This system doesn't work. So, yeah, there are alternatives. And unfortunately, you know, if you're not comfortable with home birth, which I hope that someday more people will be for low-risk pregnancies.
Up to other countries.
Exactly, because what happens in a home birth situation is you have your midwife, and that is who you see, and she is there with you every step, so she knows. And if you have anxiety and you are this person that's worried about every little thing, she knows like the little nuances that go along with that. So yeah, the whole care system is crap in my opinion, and it needs a lot of change. But we'll get back to placenta. So why did you eat your placenta? Let's start with that. I'm curious what brought you to me in the first place. Oh,
my doula extraordinaire that I absolutely adore. I had done, years. I had years to prepare for a subsequent birth. And it was one of those things, when you start down the crunchy path, there are so many little bunny trails, and they're fascinating. And I am a little bit of a science junkie. Like, I want to understand why things work. And I was curious about it, but I knew it was not something that I would do myself. One, you're exhausted after birth, and yeah.
Yeah, I did my own. It was days before I got myself in the kitchen to do that. I was like,
So in our, I think it was our second prenatal visit with Dana, we sat down and we did our birth wish list. You hear about a birth plan. Well, let me tell you, we plan, God less. So one of the things that Dana did say was, this is your wish list, and we are going to design our wish list with alternatives, because we may deal with things that are going to make your plan go out the window, and you don't want to be left high and dry. You want to go through and discuss like a bunch of different things that could happen. You want to create a wish list for as many scenarios as we can.
Yes.
But when we got into like afterward, it was detailed. Like, it went through like, okay, do you want them to wipe the vernix off the baby? No, because that's really beneficial for their skin. No, leave that intact. Do you want the eye ointment? No. The only babies that benefits is moms that have an STD, which they check for right before you deliver. And yet in America, we're putting this eye gunk on all these newborn babies, and they can't see for the first day or so of life.
Can you imagine?
No, I don't want that.
Welcome to the world.
So one of the next questions was, your placenta, are you going to keep it? Do you want to get that encapsulated? Do you want to take that home? And I was like, oh, you are my people. So I asked her some questions, and she said, you know what? She says, I don't personally know, but let me do some research and let me get back to you, because I know who I can ask. And she sent me your information.
Yay.
I emailed you, and I had like the best, like it was just one of those things. Like, I had a very, there was a lot of family turmoil right after I had Isaiah. Not within our immediate family, extended family, just a lot. I will often say privately that I feel like there were certain people in my life that were trying to push me off the cliff into postpartum depression and anxiety. But you know what? I firmly believe, because I could feel the difference in my anxiety level, in my energy level after I took my pills. I firmly believe that was my tool, and it was like my sword fighting back.
And doesn't it sound like, as a science person, don't you sound like you're insane saying that?
Yes.
Like, that's how I feel, even though this is what I do. And I always tell people, like, when they'll tell me their amazing results, I'm like, I've been doing this for over 10 years, and I've worked with over 1,000 people, and I am still, every time, I'm still like, really? Come on, this is amazing. Like, every time. And it's like, because it's just reinforced. Now, everyone doesn't have these results.
Yes.
One, because not everyone needs. I think, like, so I have one example of a good friend of mine who I processed her placenta twice. the first time that I did it for her, she swore by her pills. She's like, I was afraid when they were going to run out. I was afraid. And then the next pregnancy, she's like, I didn't use them that much and I didn't need them. So it was more like, I don't know. And so,
but if you don't do it, you don't have that tool in your toolbox.
Exactly. So I say it's like an insurance policy. It's like we all have to have insurance. We don't want to ever have to use it, but we have it just in case. And so I do. I'm still shocked and amazed by the women who have these amazing results. And for myself personally, so like you said, you had 22 years in between pregnancies. I had only 5. And the amount of new information that I learned between those two. Now, I was already a certified birth educator when I had my baby in 2009, my 13-year-old now. And so I was already in the birth world, but I still didn't know what placenta encapsulation even was. So in 2011, a friend of mine who was also a doula client at the time, she said, can you process my placenta for me? And I was like, okay,
sure.
Let me figure it out. So I asked my midwife, like, what do I need to do? And she's like, it's simple, just do this. And I just was like, cool, let's do it. Now she was a friend, so I was, comfortable doing it. I did that in her kitchen and it was fine. So that would start happening. I was doing more friends and then I'm like, okay, I need to get certified because I'm seeing these people tell me.
And that was a question that we had.
Yes.
Like yes, you can do it yourself.
Do you want to? No.
I
mean, you can. I mean, a lot of people do. But
there's a reason why there are certifications and classes and education that you can take to do stuff like this. You want it to be done safely.
Yeah.
So what are your certifications?
So the thing that is 100%, I want it to be done safely for everyone. And the reason being, not only because I want you safe, but also this is my livelihood. I can't afford for a mistake to happen on my watch or any other person who's out there processing placentas, because you know how it is. One thing goes wrong and everybody's like, it's unsafe, So it's like, we all need to be very careful.
Yes.
Because I want you safe, I want my business to be safe, and I want to be able to keep helping other women. And I want all the other specialists out there to be able to continue doing this work without the interference of the government and the FDA, right? So this is a good question because I struggle with this. Because is certification important? I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm a yoga teacher. I never registered as a certified. I took the training, but I never registered and kept up with my training.
Yes.
But I love yoga and I can still teach yoga. And as long as people know, hey, I'm not certified, I'm cool doing that, right? So same deal. Like, it's not necessarily the certification that I care about. It's the training. And do you know? Like, if someone comes to you and says, I have group B strep, I've tested positive, can I have my placenta pills still? Like, yes, you can. But I feel confident in saying that because I've done the work, I've done the research. Now, doctors will likely tell you no, that that's unsafe because one incident, which I wrote extensively about on my blog. We won't get into this, but if you want to check that out.
And we will put links in the description to how you can contact her. And she puts out, like, some really fun content on Instagram. And you are a self-confessed introvert that are trying to step out so that you can advocate for women, so that women can advocate for themselves. And I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you. And I'm so proud. I'm so glad to know you. And I'm so proud of you. And I'm so happy that this last birth went the way that it did for you.
It was amazing.
But yeah, so the placenta pills, I believe, work for many reasons. But the big reason that I hear is from moms who've done it and had success with it is that they felt empowered. And that's always my goal. I want, like, every mom to feel empowered, that they played a part in their birth and in their postpartum. And so you made this organ.
It's a part of you.
It is a part of you and then you made the decision what to do with it. And so it's empowering because you feel like you're grabbing a little bit of control in that postpartum, which is often very out of control.
There's some wild swings.
Oh my God.
I realized it yesterday when I was trying to explain to Isaiah what the nativity was, and I was so overwhelmed in telling him.
Like, you're getting still teary-eyed now.
I know, the beauty of the gift that was given to us, and like
oh my goodness.
In the middle of it, I'm thinking, who wants to give birth in a stable?
Right? You're thinking of Mary, and you're like,
at the same time, I'm laughing. I'm laughing at myself because I'm thinking, there goes those hormones again.
Yes. So we're jumping all over the place. I hope that's okay. But So the placenta, this is the easiest way to explain to the regular folk that are like, you what? You know, like, when you're pregnant, your placenta is producing your progesterone and your estrogen and all those big hormones that regulate our moods, right? So when you give birth to your placenta, literally nothing is regulating your hormones. So
and you go,
yeah, so that's why you get that random crying where, you know, I remember.
Day 3. Woo.
Oh, exactly. That's when it happens. That's when your body realizes that
I
they've
didn't get
left.
that this time.
Did I get your pills in time? That's
You did,
because
I started taking them before I left the hospital.
So that's what happens. So I always say to people, I want you to have them before your body realizes the hormones are gone.
Yes.
And so right now, our hypothalamus is regulating our hormones. Yours might not be back to work yet. So
no, it's
that's
not.
why
Obviously,
you're still doing
at the
this,
same
right?
time.
So there's nothing regulating your hormones. So the pills, really all you're doing is you're bridging that gap because it takes a good few weeks for the hypothalamus to get back to work. So you're really just, rather than, if you ever quit anything cold turkey, I know for myself with my Lexapro, if I forget a couple days, I am ragey and lunatic. And it's because I haven't weaned off of that medicine, right? And so it's the same with the hormones. So when we're putting the pills back in, and that's why you do a dosage where it's 6 pills a day for the first week, and then you're weaning off, right? So it's less each week. That way your body is able to adjust rather than just, oh my God, what's happening? So
real life, we have a newborn in the house.
Oh my God.
And she sometimes gets hungry, so. All right, where were we?
She's gonna start pecking. Look at her, I see her mouth.
I know,
I
like,
love it.
Oh, and you like my chicken mug. She got chickens on her clothes.
She sure does. Oh my goodness, you little baby. Oh my God, you're amazing. You are really amazing.
She's such a good baby, though. Like, she really is.
Look at Mom. She even coordinates the baby's blanket with her shirt. You're amazing.
Oh, I didn't do that on purpose.
Know. I hope not. That would be. I
have like favorite colors. Color schemes. I love neutrals with like pops of like. Love it. Whatever. Okay, so where were we?
Where were we? We were talking about, I don't know, probably autonomy and, you know, doing, the placenta. We were talking about the weaning off of the hormones. So,
hypothalamus, yes.
Hypothalamus getting back to work. So when you asked in the very beginning, before we did all this, the people take their placenta because they want to regulate their hormones and feel a more balanced mood, right? So although I have found that most people find me because they are trying to avoid postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. And of course, it's not medicine.
No.
It's an addition to. It's, again, like you said, part of the toolkit. And so if anyone is on medication, I don't want anyone thinking you can stop your meds and take placenta pills and that it would be okay. I'm a big fan of merging East and West and natural and medical.
There are definitely benefits to both.
Yes.
And a lot of our actual medications have their origins in homeopathy, like and herbs.
Well, look at Pitocin.
Like yes.
I mean, Pitocin is artificial oxytocin, which, if you don't know, oxytocin is the love hormone, and that's what's used to induce labor.
We actually tried to like get some of that going during my labor because it was so mellow. So I said to Nick, like, kiss the back of my neck.
Aww.
Like, just, like
yes.
You know, let's do,
get the love flowing.
Yeah. With Isaiah, we used a breast pump. I just didn't feel like it. Where I had recently weaned him, I was, like, not quite ready. I'm like, I'm not going to do nothing in that area until the baby's ready.
Also, sometimes that can just cause some super intense contractions.
It does.
And you're just like,
it really does.
Yeah.
But Pitocin is basically a synthetic duplication of what your body naturally does. Right. And so it's very logical to me as well that we can merge those things. I don't choose to take Tylenol and ibuprofen unless I have to. Right. There are other alternatives for me, depending on what I'm dealing with, if I listen to my body.
Right. But it should never be the first thing, right?
No.
Like we need to pay more attention to nutrition, and this is for all people who are going to have a baby. It is so important for your postpartum health that your nutrition is where it should be. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, like, that I eat healthy. I eat horribly.
I'm a huge fan of Chick-fil-A.
Oh my God, the fries. But yeah, I have, I think, a fairly good balance. But I am a big fan of, like, so every time I go for a physical to the doctor, who I love my doctor because she is not automatically going to go to meds. She always does my blood work, and if my B12 is low, I start with a supplement. So B12 and iron, both of those nutrients.
Both are in my toolkit if you watched my
amazing.
postpartum
Awesome.
video.
So those two are big in the placenta as well. And so low iron and low B12 can mimic depressive symptoms.
Yes.
So it only makes sense that if we take the placenta pills, that we're putting our naturally produced iron back into our body. So it's going to easily absorb.
Yes.
And it's got the B12. So it's really a supplement, and that's all. It's a supplement to your nutrition, and it's a way to bridge that gap. So it just makes sense, and I understand that the science has not caught up with it yet, because I will say this until I'm blue in the face, like, who's going to pay for that study? Like, I don't have the funds, or else I would. But the pharmaceutical companies are the ones who pay for most studies, and they're not going to pay for a study about human placenta benefiting a mom, because that takes all their stuff off the shelf.
And it's not that we don't need the pharmaceutical companies, because
100%.
they make life-saving drugs every day.
Gosh, yes.
I question sometimes whether greed can override safety, but at the same time, you have a level of trust in so much of what you have a level of trust in the car manufacturers that when you put your foot on the brake, that car's going to stop. They don't want to get sued. And it is the same way with most industries. So if you are listening to your body, working with your doctor,
yes.
And
your doctor actually is
and your doctor's
caring.
Listening, and your doctor understands that you don't want to jump to something that you don't necessarily need, or something that you're never going to get off of.
Right.
I'm one of those people. I have to take thyroid supplements for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I have to go. We have literally weeks before we moved to Kentucky, and I have to go for 2 more iron infusions because my iron saturation was so low during pregnancy. I had 5 infusions while I was in my 3rd trimester. I've been taking my placenta pills. I've been taking grass-fed beef liver capsules. I've been taking Hemiplex, which is a really high-quality iron supplement, and I'm still low. But I'm working with my doctor. Even though I feel pretty good, it was that bad. I basically had no stored iron. I need help with that.
Right.
And in order for me to be at my best and feel my best, like seriously, if I get 2 more infusions and I feel better than I do now, I am going to be unstoppable. Like, I feel really
I know,
good right
look
now.
at you. I'm so amazed.
You guys probably saw the video that we shot. I had the kids out yesterday. It was absolutely gorgeous. We were out. We were playing with the chickens. We were moving bunnies around. I was toting some wood chips back. Like,
don't do too much.
I was very careful. I filled the bucket like halfway, and the wood chips are very broken down.
I'm going to do the mom thing.
Yeah,
still healing.
That was one thing I said in that video too. Like, my recovery is really important. I'm not pushing hard.
Right.
I'm moving slowly.
Listening
I'm watching what I'm listening. And I'll be honest, it might have been a little much. I did take an ibuprofen last night because I felt a little sore. Not pain, but sore. Yeah. And I wanted to make sure that I was not going to be too uncomfortable to sleep.
Yeah, for sure.
I have taken, since I came off of the ibuprofen and Tylenol, I've only taken 2 ibuprofen. And that's been on days that I was on my feet a lot. It's more being on my feet. Yeah. It's not lifting. It's not doing, chores outside. Being outside is great. You need that vitamin D, especially in the wintertime.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, with the placenta that people, they forget about now. You also had major abdominal surgery. And the placenta, you've seen yours, right? It's typically
mine was big.
Dessert plate
size.
I'll
put a picture in.
Yeah. Give a warning. People are always like, what? My partner won't follow my Instagram. And she's like, I can't. But
see, and I think it's so cool. And Nick,
of course.
He never understood the tree of life until he actually saw.
That's so cool.
Dana took the picture and showed him, and he says, I get the tree of life reference now.
Oh my God, when you see those little necklaces of the tree of life, I just see a placenta. I'm like, you're wearing a placenta. You don't know it, but that's a placenta right there.
It's a life-giving organ.
It is. That's exactly what it is. It's the only disposable organ in the human body, which is amazing. But yeah, so it's the size of like a dessert plate. Some might be bigger, and that is a wound inside of you. So I always tell people, if you, again, whether or not you're eating your placenta, this is important information for every pregnant person. if you've got a wound here on the outside, this size, you're not going to be out there hauling anything, right? You're going to be resting and taking care. So we forget because it's on the inside and we can't see it. It's like anything that's invisible is forgotten. And so you have to just remind yourself that you're still healing on the inside. Oh, other people absolutely forget.
Especially with a C-section, other people forget. Although,
makes me so mad.
This time, I have more people reminding me that I had a C-section than myself because I feel
so good. That's the danger,
right?
This
is why I want this information out here.
Yeah.
I had such a beautiful birth. I was so nurtured and cared for during labor. I knew what to do to nurture my body immediately after labor and immediately after C-section. There were things that I did, putting a belly binder on right away so that I had that physical reminder to let those muscles rest and use my arms and legs to get up and down. I didn't do that the first time, and I had a lot harder time learning to move. This time, by the end of the first day, I was able to pick her up and go change her. Because I knew to put that on and keep that on for a couple of days to remind myself to use my arms and legs. But I knew what to do. And literally, I feel fantastic. People keep saying, you look great. You don't even look like you had a C-section. I know that I had a C-section. Yeah. I know my limitations. I'm listening to my body. Good. But it's true. Yes. I keep forgetting. Like, I'm ready to get back to doing everything that I did before. Yeah.
I think that's part of our culture too, is that we are so, we're proud. Like, I'll see it on social media where a mom is like, I'm just a week out and I'm already going for a run. And I'm like, that's not
smart.
We shouldn't be bragging about this. This is not a badge of honor. Take the time to heal, because I always say, this is like the only time you have a legit excuse to sit on your butt, right? Like, you had a baby. Yes. Well, you had your first a long time ago, so... But you remember, right? You're pinned to the couch sometimes, and you're like dying. You want to get up, but then you look back and you go, why didn't I take advantage of that? Because once that baby's moving, that fun is done for the rest of your life.
It's like when your toddler decides that he is too grown for a nap, and you gently remind them that when you were an adult, naps are going to be a privilege.
I know. I'm coming back around to that now with a 13-year-old. He's like, I feel like I need a nap, and I'm like. Well, I can't wait to wake you up from it, because the work I had to do to get you to nap when you were a baby was... Yes. I didn't have one like this.
All right, so
yes,
are there certifications?
So there are a bunch of different certifications out there. There's a bunch of trainings. It's not regulated. So APA is the big one. That is the Association of Placenta Preparation Arts. I'm not certified with APA, but if I were going to do it again, I'd probably go to APA, but... IPA is what I was certified with. They're just similar, but APA is continuously doing more research. They work with UNLV and they've done studies. So they actually...
send me links.
Yes.
And so we'll put that in because we need more people. And honestly, I'm moving to a new area. Yeah. And, maybe that's a good time. Hard. Maybe it's a good time too, because you also don't just... You don't just do placentas here in South Jersey.
Oh, right. So yeah, I've had people reach out from other parts of the country, and I will do nationwide shipping. So what that involves, though, is shipping the family, a full cooler shipping box and everything. And what they have to do then is bring their own placenta home from the hospital with them, put it in their own freezer. Cool. For at least 24 hours so that it's frozen and it will survive the shipping process. And then I need to let it thaw out. So it's really adding a few days on to the entire process. And as you said, you really want those pills ASAP so that you don't notice that difference. So I'm not a huge fan of it. There are companies that do it now. It's becoming bigger and bigger. So there's a few people that do a lot of nationwide. But for me, I'm like, I would much rather you find someone local, because you're going to get your pills faster. That being said, if there's no one local who's trained and knows what they're doing, no, I don't want you doing that. So, yeah, I will do nationwide. But again, it's not my preference. But I do service, so I'm in Cherry Hill, which is, like you said, almost an hour from you. But I'll service 90 minutes, like a 90-minute radius in-person pickups. So I'm always in my car. I'm always in the car. I can't believe the number of miles I've put in my car in the past year and a half since I got it.
Business expense.
I know.
Long as miles.
I know. Oh, trust me, I do. And like, I can tell when I'm tracking because anything that's in my personal life is usually like a mile, 2 miles.
Yep.
It's like anything else, I'm like, business. Thank God for mile IQ. So yes.
Yeah, I think that, so Tiff has recently decided to, and we've touched on it a little bit here, but we're going to go into it in a little bit more detail. We are going to come back for a part 2 with Tiff because she has some exciting expansions to her business that I really think that women are going to benefit from. So we're going to stop here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And make sure you check the links below. This is so important for moms to know, to get this information, to hear firsthand that it is safe.
It is totally safe. There is no evidence anywhere that anyone has ever been sick or anything. No,
it's completely totally adjustable. So if you do notice any kind of, negative side effects, this time I wound up with some high blood pressure, and I knew right away, between all the iron that I'm taking and the placenta pills, I needed to make some adjustments. I didn't even reach out to Tiff because I knew we had talked about it ahead of time. So the negative side effects, if you have any, talk to her.
Yeah.
She'll help you through it.
The only negative side effects that I've ever heard really are that what you said, like jittery, or that could be related to the high blood pressure. Again, a dosage adjustment is usually going to fix that. And then headaches.
Immediate.
Yeah, see? And headaches, people will tell me, I don't know, I feel like I'm getting headaches and then always I will say, are you drinking enough water? And typically they're like, I thought I was. And then they're like, not. We don't, postpartum, especially if you're nursing, you need way more water than you think. So even if you're drinking enough water, it's probably not enough. And so that's another reason why I think having someone, it's like you said, it's an additional person on your team. So you might not ever realize that you're dehydrated, but if you have a placenta specialist that you're just, I check in. Like, I don't just give you your pills and disappear. So,
which was weird to me the first time because I'm like, I don't know you.
Right.
Now I understand why that is so important.
It's so funny, I know. A lot of people will respond like, thank you so much for checking in. I really appreciate that. And I'm like, everyone should be checking in on you right now.
I probably should have read, all of the emails that she was going to be checking.
Oh, yeah.
That wouldn't have surprised me.
You don't know how many times I say, people don't read my emails, or how they package up the placenta, because I have very specific instructions for how to package it with the kit.
Oh, gosh.
And when it comes to me, sometimes I'm like, and I said multiple times, this is not a waterproof cooler bag. Do not put the ice right in the bag. Number of times I'm dripping it. No, it wasn't you. You were fine. You did
I don't even know who did mine.
You did good.
I was
Dana.
unconscious.
Probably Dana. She probably took care of it.
All right, so let's take a break.
Yes, we're taking
and we'll
a break.
come back in a couple minutes and we'll talk about what, it won't be a couple minutes for you.
Yes.
We're going to just keep going because we're having this. But that's all for today, guys. Please check out the links below. A lot of great information. And come back and watch part 2. And check out our playlist that I've started about pregnancy and labor and postpartum. There's so much good information. And I have a few more interviews that I'm going to set up. I want to empower you. Take charge of this period of your life because you drive the ship. You are the boss. You are the head of the labor team. And you can rock it and you can thrive. See you later, guys.